Rex, for the seventh time in the past 8 playings of the President's Cup, the Americans have opened up with a lead after the opening session here at Quail Hollow. It is USA 4, international side 1. Your thoughts, please.
No, I'm going to go ahead and do some housekeeping real quick because last we talked, which was about 24 hours ago, I believe, and I don't want to misstate here, I think your prediction was the internationals 3-2. We're going to be up 3-2 today. And you also added to that this morning when you showed up in the media center, when you sat down and spit at me, just glared at me and spit in my face that not only are they going to win 3-2, but the international team's going to cover, which it's 6.5 points. They may very well cover. And that also you were going to kill the under, which I'm not quite sure if you actually had that right. So let me get your thoughts.
Don't even know what that means.
Look, you just threw it out there. So let me get your thoughts on 3-2 versus 4-1.
Not sure what I said in the podcast. I say a lot of things. However, last night at dinner, I definitely talked myself into a 3-2 international lead. That was based on a couple of assumptions, Rex. That was assuming that the most seasoned team on the internationals, which was Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama, would not lose 6-5. I thought they would give Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele a little bit more of a game. I thought Sungjae Im and Corey Connors, 2 absolute flushers, great ball strikers. I thought that they could win that match against Jordan Spieth, who's still a little bit shaky with this game, and Justin Thomas, who obviously has a sensational record in this. And look, I thought they probably could have eked out a point, and certainly they could have as it played out on Thursday in foursomes with the Taylor Pendrith Mito Pereiro match. That's where I was going with 3-2. The funny enough, I did the match that I thought the internationals had absolutely no chance was the Siwoo Kim Cam Davis match against Scotty Scheffler.
The one they actually won.
Sam Burns, the world number 1, and his best friend Sam Burns, and that is the one they won with a back 9 rally. That just goes to show why we should not make predictions.
No, terrible idea. I tried to tell you yesterday it was a terrible idea. I was wrong as well. I picked the Americans would be up 3-2. I was less wrong than you. I'm not quite sure how you were able to. I'm not quite sure how you were able to talk yourself into that. I can't overstate how desperate this hole is that the international side has dug for themselves. You just went through how many times the Americans have won the opening session. I'll take that a step further. That there was a point today, and there was a point throughout the day that it felt like, oh my, they're going to sweep. It's going to be 5-0 after day 1, and so I had to look it up. And just
then,
twice
like
in history,
the squall came through when every match was making its way on the back 9, and that's when things started to get a little bit tighter.
Yeah. I think the 11th hole was kind of pivotal for the internationals. Actually, if I went out and watched 4 of the 5 matches come through, and they won 3 of those times. So they won 3 and tied the 4th win, and that was right when the squall was coming through and the winds were coming in. But of the 2 times that the Americans have swept the opening frame on this, which was 1994 and 2000, that they went on to win those 2 President's Cups by a combined 19 points. Like, it's very, very dire. Again, I cannot overstate how concerning this is for Trevor Immelman and his team room. Now, he didn't come off that way. I asked him specifically.
Well, of course, he's not going to panic.
No, and look, I think he would have liked to have been 3-2. He would have liked to have been 4-1 his way up. I mean, there's a bunch of different scenarios he would have liked. I'm sure in his heart of hearts, this was not unexpected. Given his team's record in foursomes play, given his team's youthful experience, he sent 6 rookies out, which is just a byproduct of numbers. He's got 8 rookies on the team. He had to send at least 6 of them out to play in the hardest format for his team to play in, and in front of a very, very partisan crowd. And so I don't think there's anything that surprised him today. As a matter of fact, getting the 1 win late against that group, you're right, Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns, was probably a pleasant surprise, and there are some things he can pick from. And there's plenty of golf to play, but, man, it does not look good.
We talked yesterday on we certainly talked yesterday on the podcast how vitally important this opening session was, just not because of the history entering this event. It was 6 of the 7 times that the Americans had led after the opening session. The one time they didn't was 3 years ago at Royal Melbourne, when, in fact, the international side opened up a 4-1 lead, and they played from ahead throughout that competition. It was only on Sunday with Sunday singles, where the Tiger Woods-led team had a rally, won 8 of his 12 singles matches in order to eke out a 2-point victory. And so it was imperative that the internationals came out to a hot start, jumped on the Americans, took the crowd a little bit out of the proceedings, and that was exactly what did not happen. In fact, the inverse of that happened. As you mentioned, it was red on the board, all 5 matches as those guys played on the back nine. 4-1 almost feels like a victory for the internationals for what could have been. And now as we look ahead, Rex, into what we're going to have for 4 balls on Friday, you have 5 different pairings that Trevor Immelman has sent out for internationals. There is no repeat pairings that we're going to see for the 4-ball sessions. Meanwhile, the Americans are going to be sending out 3 of the same pairings, probably the ones that you can guess: Spieth and JT, Scotty and Burns, and Cantlay and Xander.
And I think as you kind of go over those pairings, and we just got them, so we haven't digested them completely yet. Like, there's some that stand out on the international side that intrigue me. Hideki playing with Tom Kim, I think, is fascinating to me, because if Hideki can play up to any kind of standard, which he did not do today, paired with alongside Adam Scott, but if he can play up to any kind of standard, I think Tom Kim can provide him a spark. The other one there is Corey Connors and Taylor Pendrith. I walked with Pendrith today because he was paired with Mito Pereira, and I felt like statistically, if you just kind of broke down the numbers, that was going to be the international's best pairing, because just what they do, strokes gain off the tee. And we talked about this last night. This is very much a distance biased golf course, and they made a game of it. They started awful. They were 4 over par through their first 5 holes, and it looked like nerves were going to get the best of them, and this was not going to be a match at all. They got it to 18, but some sloppy play on the 18th hole cost them a point there. But that one, Corey Connors and Taylor Pendrith, they're friends. They were college teammates.
Best friends.
They were in each other's wedding. They were roommates. Like these two, I mean, Corey Connors is why Taylor Pendrith is on this team. So that one sort of interests me as well. That being said, I mean, Davis Love, the U.S. captain, just flipped him. He's going to send Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas out in the first group today, instead of sending Cantlay and Xander out, who just mow down and just sets the tone. You put so much red on the board that it's impossible to ignore out there when you're walking around the golf course. And I'm sure in Davis's mind, it's going to be the exact same thing tomorrow.
Connors and Pendrith, you mentioned, I think that's an absolute must-win for the internationals. Those are 2 players that Trevor Immelman has to be banking on can go all 5 matches. And he was hoping they're going to have, 4-1 record. Maybe they have the week of their lives and go 5-0. There's a little bit of a vulnerability there, I would think, when the Americans' last pairing. Billy Horschel has not played. He sat out the opening foursome session when I actually thought he could have played. Max Homa was a part of that win in his debut match alongside Tony Finau. Those 2 players did not play practice rounds together, so we do not know exactly how they're going to mesh. So I would think Connors and Pendrith actually have quite a good chance in that match. The 4-1, the one that you mentioned there, Hideki, Tom Kim versus Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. Those dudes on the American side, they are unflappable. They are unyielding. They are
ruthless.
That's a perfect way to describe them, Rex. And so that's the one that if the internationals can steal one there, I don't know. Do I think they can win? No. Do I think they can steal a couple of these matches? Probably. I mean, Cameron Young, Kevin Kisner. I thought Cam Young was quite impressive today playing alongside Collin Morikawa. You could kind of see what the Americans are doing.
You had a funny today for Cam Young. Go ahead. I'll let you do your funny.
I'm thawing on Cameron Young. I thought he's kind of hard to like. He's tough to get anything out of him. And I said, actually, didn't know you had teeth. I saw Cameron Young had the best day of his life, I think. He has come close in many PGA Tour events. He had a great time alongside Collin Morikawa. And then, of course, he jarred the 30-footer to win. But having Kevin Kisner tomorrow in 4 balls, I think, is interesting. Those 2 were matched up in Wednesday's practice round. And so they do have some familiarity there. It's clear like what the Americans are doing with Cam Young. Everyone wants to play with Cam Young because he hits at 330 and is obviously a very complete player. On Thursday in the foursomes session, paired him with Collin Morikawa, one of the best iron players in the game. Friday, Kevin Kisner, one of the best putters in the game. I think that's a very intriguing pairing as well.
They could go low. I mean, it could very much be just a birdie fest out there. And Quail Hollow's not set up easy, not by any stretch of the imagination, but putting those 2 together, if Kevin Kisner is putting like in doing things on greens that Kevin Kisner does, I mean, those 2 could absolutely be explosive. To your point, the International's 4-ball record is much better than its foursomes record. So, I don't want to paint this as an entirely gloom picture. However, I mean, you're right. They need to get some shocks. They need to get, and I think you said it, and I probably recoiled a little bit, but yes, if they can somehow find a way to beat Cantlay and Schauffele, then yes, maybe this is a game. But I'll believe that when I see it. I mean, those two pairings for the U.S., JT Jordan, Pat, and Xander, I mean, it's just a steamroll. I don't know another way of saying it. Go back to the Ryder Cup last year. Patrick and Xander went undefeated in foursomes play. I mean, they were just on fire. And when they get out there, there's just something that clicks inside both of them. And it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around that's where the American weakness is, because I just don't see it.
If you want to make a case for the Americans, or excuse me, a case for the internationals, and that they can make this a little bit of a match on Friday. You look at the first match, right? Jordan Spieth is very much still working through some issues with his game. I would not say that those two players played their best, and yet they still eked out a victory. They're going up against Adam Scott, the most seasoned member of the international side, alongside Cameron Davis, who, along with Siwoo Kim, won the only point for the internationals. Perhaps that trend continues, and they can get it. Sung Jae Im and Sebastian Munoz against Scottie Scheffler and Sam Burns. On paper, you would not think that the internationals have much of a chance. However, Scottie and Sam Burns forfeited a lead on the back nine today. Sung Jae Im, one of the best ball strikers on the PGA Tour. Sebastian Munoz can go low. I believe he's one of the only players in PGA Tour history who have recorded a couple of rounds of 61 or lower on the PGA Tour. Maybe you get those guys. And as I said, Hideki, Tom Kim, and I think the all Canadian pairing is a must. It wouldn't shock me. I'm going to say this again. I thought the internationals could go 3-2 today. I really do think the internationals could go 3-2 tomorrow. We're going to keep doubling, which means it's going to be like 8-2 at the end of Friday. I do think they can win the session 3-2.
You just doomed them. You absolutely. I think they will. It's going to go 4-1 the other way. Oh, I don't know about that. I'm going to sit down as soon as we're done here, and I'm going to write a column. And when I told you the theme, it came off so backhanded, and I guess there's no way for me to hide it. But the international team is what we thought it is. I mean, it's very young. It's very inexperienced. Now, today, that reared its head in a very, very difficult format in front of a very partisan crowd, and that's what you're going to get. I mean, he had 6 rookies out there. There was only going to be one outcome, really, if you sit and you think about it logically. That being said, there is the other side of this. Like, I wanted to walk with Mito Pereira and Taylor Pendrith, because these are two guys that sort of did this a different way. I mean, this time last year, they were playing their first PGA Tour event as a PGA Tour member. I mean, put that in context. Like, now all of a sudden you have been elevated to not just the big leagues, but the absolute all-star game of the big leagues in less than a year. So I think you get an idea of what they were up against in this.
Cameron Young handled that just fine.
He did. It also helps that I think there is
He's
something
Cameron
to be
Young.
said.
He's the rookie of the year.
And he doesn't smile, and he seems to be a robot of some sort and doesn't seem to have any kind of emotions whatsoever. But I'll also say, like, there was something to be said for the way Cantlay and Schauffele got things started. Not only did they put red on the board, it was dominant. I mean, it looked like a Pollock painting up there very, very early. And I think what you're going to end up with is every time that happens, that the Max Homas and the Cameron Youngs of the world are going to glance up and just be emboldened. And it would go the other way, I would think, at some point for the internationals, if it ever turns out that they can get a lead. They didn't lead for a single hole today. There was 5 matches. They did not lead for a single hole in any of them. So you get an idea. And yes, you could say, well, they were up and they were 1 up in many matches. You can flip those very, very easy. They could. They only did it in 1. But they only did it in 1.
Which shows the American depth, which shows the American strength, as Trevor Immelman has repeated ad nauseum, separated by about 5 feet from Davis Love, that this is one of the best American teams ever assembled. So I'm not surprised. If it gets down to a situation where there's 1-up leads, you would expect the American strength to shine through. I think that's exactly what happened in this opening foursomes sessions. I say 3-2 internationals on day 2. What do you say?
I'm actually going to go for the split. I don't know that they have 3-2 in them. So 2.5, 2.5. I just don't see it getting done. And look, that'll keep things close enough. I mean, it'll keep us interested going into the weekend. But again, I didn't see enough out from the international team today to lead me to believe that somehow they can turn things around tomorrow in 4-ball.
Folks, make sure to check out our coverage on golfchannel.com. I'll be writing about the pervasive here we go again feeling here at Quail Hollow. Rex is writing about the internationals. They are who we thought they are. We let them off the hook. stay tuned for more Golf Central podcast presented by Callaway Golf. We'll be back with daily wraps after each of the tournament rounds at the President's Cup. Hopefully, I have 4 of them. Hopefully, this thing does not end on Saturday. I don't think either of us want that to happen. But check back
if
here.
If it ends on Saturday, we're still going to do one on Sunday.
We still will after the Panthers game.
That's right.
See ya.